This is a war zone. It's a medical war zone.
America is not prepared, and nurses are not being protected. I quit my job today. I went into work and I was assigned to a COVID patient on an ICU unit that has been converted to a designated COVID unit. None of the nurses are wearing masks, not even surgical masks, in the hallways when they're giving report to each other. I had my own N95 mask. I told my manager, I understand we're short on supplies, but let me protect myself. Let me feel safe. I have family that I have to come home to, and the way things are looking, this isn't gonna get any better. America is not prepared, and nurses are not being protected.
I am very frustrated and I am very afraid. Not because I am faced with taking care of COVID positive patients, but because I go there unprepared, unprotected. While we do have masks that are available, but it's not the right mask that's needed to care for the patient. And we use gowns that are not up to the level of what we need in order to take care of them. And CDC had said a bandana or a scarf is good enough to protect us from the patients. And we know that's not right.
Did CDC really say that?
Yes, and that was, we were hoping that the CDC would be there to protect us, the frontline workers, and yet they failed to do that. And so we are really scared. We are really anxious because, you know, it's like you wouldn't send a fireman to fight a fire with a squirt gun. And why are they doing it to the nurses?
Doing it the way we're doing it is much better. It's really much better.
This is a war zone. It's a medical war zone.
How much room do you have in your morgue?
Usually we have around 20 plus bodies that we can fit comfortably.
And you've gone over that?
Gone over that, and the state has been gracious enough to bring us apparatus to help keep families and keep the bodies in comfortable areas because we didn't want bodies piled on top of each other.
Every day I come in, what I see on a daily basis is pain, despair, suffering, and healthcare disparities. We are scared too. We're fighting for your lives and we're fighting for our own lives. We're trying to keep our head above water and not drown.
What do you need right now?
We need prayer, we need support, we need gowns, we need gloves, we need masks, we need more vents, we need more medical space. We need psychosocial support as well. It's not easy coming here when you know that what you're getting ready to face. work at 2 hospitals. So I work here in Brooklyn, and then I work at another hospital in the Bronx, and it's the same thing. In the South Bronx, it's the same thing. I've had patients that were in their 30s, and they are now intubated, and they're really sick. I've had patients that are well.
No underlying conditions.
No underlying conditions. So the thing is about between life and death, as far as this coronavirus, is that this virus there's no difference. It has nothing to do with age, has nothing to do with lack of access to health care, has nothing to do with socioeconomics, race, or ethnicity. This virus is killing a lot of people. I don't really sleep that well at night. I worried about my family. I worry about my safety. I worry about my colleagues. I worry about how the shift is going to be the next time I come. I worry about if a family member is going to come and be a patient as well or fall victim to the coronavirus. I worry about a lot of things. It's not up to just only to the emergency department to pull through and to make sure the curve is flattened. This is a responsibility for everybody in the country to help us pull through. So
stay the F home.
Exactly. I'm very.
Is that literally? I mean, how?
Stay the F home. Exactly. Exactly. Because it's not just us that has to help flatten the curve and take care of everybody. Help us help you.
Thank you for coming back to the show.
Mom told me I had to.
Governor Andrew Cuomo, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
I love you. I'm proud of what you're doing. I know you're working hard for your state, but no matter how hard you're working, there's always time to call Mom. She wants to hear from you, just so you know.
Yeah, I called Mom just before I came on this show. By the way, she said I was her favorite.
She never said that.
Good news is she said you were her second favorite son. You're better than me.
Only on the basketball court.
Never, don't lie.
That's what Pop said. That's what Pop said.
Never. He did not.
That's what he said.
You never beat me once.
The country should
not
know.
Once.
He said Andrew has tremendous capability. He is blessed in many ways, but he's got hands like bananas and he can't play ball. Everybody knows it. Just saying.
Put the money
You're
on
doing
the
a great
table
job, though.
and I'll take you out and spank you.
Last night, I was doing what I do for my family, which is make my mother's sauce. She taught me how to make this sauce, which is something that is very coveted. And she said, I can only teach he, not she, he who will carry it on best. And you will see the B-roll of me cooking. My mother called me and said, is Andrew there? I said, no, Mom, I'm all alone here out on the island with my family. And she said, where is he? And I said, he's up in Albany in the house with the big gates and the attack dog. And she said, oh, that's too bad. And I said, it's okay, Mom. I love him and I'll make sauce for him too. And she started to cry and then I said goodbye.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
You've always been good at manipulation. You've always been the meatball of the family.
Let me ask you something. With all of this adulation that you're getting for doing your job, are you thinking about running for president? Tell the audience.
No.
No, you won't answer?
No, I answered. The answer is no.
No, you're not thinking about it?
Sometimes it's one word. I said no.
Have you thought about it?
No.
Are you open to thinking about it?
No.
Might you think about it at some point?
No.
How can you know what you might think about at some point right now?
Because I know what I might think about and what I won't think about. But you're a great interviewer, by the way.
Appreciate it. Learn from the best.
He is going to be fine. He's young, in good shape, strong, not as strong as he thinks, but he will be fine. He's my best friend. My father was always working, so it was always just me and Chris. Can I ask you, where are you?
I'm in the process of making a point. Where I am. I'm in my basement.
But where are you physically?
I'm in my basement.
You're in your basement.
That's what I just said. Yeah, that's where I am.
Oh, you're in your basement. I see. Well, you spend a lot of time there, right? Christina says she sends you there a lot. So kitchen and basement, that's where you've spent your life. Okay.
Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm in the
question?
basement because this is where I had the availability to do this. Right now, I need to be working at home. That's why I'm here.
And look, some of us have to work, right? I don't have the luxury of working 1 hour a day. God bless you.
Well,
I'm happy
first
for
of all,
you.
it's a full-time
Most of us
job.
work more than 1 hour a day. That's all I'm saying.
You certainly have been working a lot. And I'll tell you what, be careful. Not just because you look like you've been burning a lot of hours, but you show up in a lot of places. And I know it gives comfort to people. But if you get sick, God forbid, there's only one of you right now. And if you get sick, it's a problem. So I know you like to run around with your ill-fitting jacket, but just remember that. You got to stay healthy. I need you, big brother, because I love you and you're the center of the family, but you're the center of the state right now also.
Yeah, but I have to do my job, and Mama didn't raise an armchair general in me anyway. I'm not going to sit in my basement. I say to the National Guard every time before I go out there, I'll never ask you to go anywhere that I won't go. I'll never ask you to do anything that I won't do. So I need to be out there doing my job. You stay where you are in the basement. I think it's very nice. I love you. Be safe. Call me sometime.
I have to be honest. This basement puts me in a bad position, and I am sitting in an armchair right now. Those are two terrible facts. I'll talk to you soon. I'll send you some sauce.
Love you, brother.
Mom's secret.
Love you. Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I know. Meatball. Yeah,
I heard it. It's a term of endearment in Italian circles. To be the meatball,
Yeah,
you can please make him, please hang up on him now. Thank you very much. He has a lot of work to do. Is he gone? Is he gone? He's gone. Meatball is a term of endearment in any Italian family. They only call one son that, and it is the best thing you can be called.
Love you. I do love him. The tension is real, though.
So for those of us who served in the Obama administration and worked on the Ebola response, it was a really enlightening and jarring and frightening experience because I think it helped us to understand just how vulnerable the world remained to a disease that could be a lot scarier than Ebola. Ebola was a very scary disease if you caught it, but the chances of catching it, the chances of it spreading on a global level were very small. So I think a lot of us came away from that thinking, my goodness, we are nowhere near where we need to be for something that would be much more transmissible. And so there was a lot of energy in the last few years of the Obama administration to try and put in place what we could to leave the government in a better place. One was to set up a team at the White House that was solely dedicated to health security preparedness and response. The idea there was having a cell of people at the White House who could pull together all of the different parts of the federal government that had a role in this. And, you think of all those parts. It's Homeland Security for the immigration and border stuff. It's the FAA for the airlines and the air travel. It's, of course, CDC and Health and Human Services. It's USAID for the overseas part. It's a very complex operation, and you need that core of expertise at the White House that know where those capabilities sit and the government knows how to make them work together. Then that new team at the White House pulled together what we call the playbook. That was a document that laid out the different stages of readiness that the federal government would need to go through. Okay, here are the indicators that suggest that you're in the lowest phase of activation. And if you see these indicators, you need to move up to this phase of activation. And here are the key questions you need to ask. Here are the different parts of the government you need to be talking to. One of the things that was identified as an early priority was testing. PPE availability, personal protective equipment, was another priority focus within that document because we knew that was an area of potential weakness. And so that would have to be an early focus if we saw a novel virus overseas. And it was very explicit in the document that something like COVID should set off alarm bells. The document specifically talked about a novel virus, meaning a virus we hadn't seen before, for which we had no medical countermeasures, and which was showing the ability to efficiently spread from human to human. It was very explicit in the document that that sort of scenario needed to trigger great concern and a lot of active preparation. And I think what we saw instead, partly because they ignored that playbook, was that scenario emerged overseas, and the main response of the Trump administration initially was just to shut down travel from China and to basically assure the American public that the risk was low, but not to trigger the sort of domestic readiness measures that were very explicitly laid out in that document. So initially, when the Trump administration came in, they retained the pandemic preparedness team at the White House. But when John Bolton arrived as the national security advisor, he got rid of that team. The playbook that we left behind clearly was not used, because if they had asked themselves some of those very basic questions at the beginning of this, I think they'd have been in a very different place than they now are. Biologists and virologists and pandemic planners have been pointing out for years that it was basically inevitable that we would see another novel pathogen at some point that would combine very high transmissibility with a significant case fatality rate. To anyone who had worked pandemic preparedness before, it was very clear in late January that we were facing a huge risk in the United States. Watching what was happening in Wuhan, with hospitals being overwhelmed, with the aggressive spread of the virus, there was no reason to look at that and think that we were not equally vulnerable to that here in this country. But we were lucky. We had a head start that China didn't have. We had time to prepare. However, to trigger that preparation, the federal government needed to say very loudly and very forthrightly, but very calmly and professionally, this is a real risk. Hospitals need to be preparing. The public needs to be preparing. You need to be preparing for disruption in your lives. And that wasn't being said. That, in effect, sent a message to hospital executives and to the public and to business leaders that basically this was under control and they didn't need to make any major adjustments. And that was how it was heard. And it was just clearly the wrong message. And part of the reason now we're in such a scramble is because of that poor messaging and that poor risk assessment that we saw throughout the whole month of February from the administration. And I think what is strongly suggested by the reporting of the president's preferences on this is that he didn't want that kind of forward-leaning risk messaging. He was worried that it would spook the stock markets. It's very frustrating for those of us who have worked these issues from inside the government, who know how this works and how it should be done, to then see him try to avoid any responsibility and claim that this was totally unforeseeable, because literally everyone in the public health field has known that this was a real possibility. And anyone who's paid any attention to it, and there are a lot of us, has known how vulnerable we are. So for him to act as though it somehow absolves him that he was unaware this was a possibility, it doesn't absolve him. It just shows how ignorant he was of the risk.
We have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
The lack of a coordinated federal response is really damaging. And I've spent a lot of time in the last few weeks talking to local mayors' offices and governors' offices around the country, and all of them use terms like free-for-all, Wild West. We're all competing with each other. You cannot run a 50-state emergency that way. You cannot run a 50-state emergency in which all 50 states are competing for the same pool of supplies, for the same pool of expertise, where they need policy consistency in how they're applying measures, but they're basically left to their own devices to figure out what those measures should look like. The governor of Florida allowed spring break to go forward and allowed the beaches to stay open, allowed the bars to stay open. And all of those kids came down, partied on the Florida beaches for a few weeks, and then went back to places all over the country. And some of them will have brought back coronavirus with them to those communities. That is a decision by one governor in one state that poses risks to almost every state in the country. So when you don't have consistent policy coherence on how we fight this, coming from the federal level, you leave it to each governor and each locality to be making their own decisions, and they're going to make those decisions differently, and it basically becomes a lowest common denominator effort. The basic reality of why we are in the trouble we are in the United States now is that preparedness is a choice, and poor preparedness is a choice. The decision not to prepare in the face of an obvious threat is no excuse when you then find that that threat is overwhelming you later on.
She looked at me and went, "Mummy, why are you sad?" My name's Shanice. I work at Southend Hospital as a medical emergency assistant. So we are frontline workers. And last night, me and my partner agreed that I left the family home due to vulnerable people under the roof. So my mother-in-law currently lives with me. She's got really chronic asthma and susceptible to pneumonia. She's had it quite a few times. And she's got a long health condition of Crohn's. So her immune system is basically, she's very high risk. And I've got a 2-year-old as well. So yeah, we come to the agreement that last night I would leave the family home today. So this morning I woke up, I packed my things. Honey's going about her day as normal. Considering a 2-year-old, she don't understand. I said to Honey, Mummy's going away for a little while. Mummy's got work. And she said, Mummy, I come, Mummy. I said, no, baby, you can't. I said, I'm going to Nanny's house and Nanny's going to stay here with you and Nanny. She said, okay, Mummy. So today's my first day of 12 weeks away from my kid. And it's very hard. So I said my goodbyes to her, as a normal parent would do. I started to cry. She looked at me and went, Mummy, why are you sad? I didn't know how to answer it, so I just replied with, yeah, Mummy's sad. Mummy's sad. My 2-year-old, she grabbed her sleeve. She wiping my tears away with her sleeve and said, don't cry, Mummy. So, as a 2-year-old. So the influx of potential suspected COVID patients, they're coming through the doors like, we're basically suspecting everybody who's either got a cough, temperature, both, etc. Like, I'm petrified of going to work. I'm petrified, but I have to go to work. You have to stay indoors. There is nothing so special out there for you to be going out. Yeah, the sun's shining. Yeah? You might be dead in a few weeks because you wanted to go out and go get some fresh air and mingle with people and not keep the 2-metre distance. Guys, you need to really get your priorities straight. Go home, stay home, protect your children, protect the vulnerable people that you could potentially be infecting. You need to be so vigilant, guys. Vigilant. I've had to leave my daughter for 3 months because I don't want to put her in that vulnerable situation. She has no idea what's going on. No idea at all. Just wise up, guys.